Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Resilience is Your Superpower. My name is Mio Santana, your host for this program, and I'm super excited to be sitting with Karim Raymond here today. As you know, we've been here for the whole month of April and May, and we're super excited because these conversations are really special. I created this program because we were doing a rebranding for my self-love program called Resilience, a Breakthrough Journey to Self-Love. And we were trying to figure out what to call it. And it occurred to me over my past 20 years of my own transformational journey that something really important about me is that I was resilient. And whenever anybody would describe me, they would say, oh, Mio is resilient. And so that always stayed with me. And so when I was thinking of the name of the program, I thought of resilience. And then I reflected over all the women who have taken the program and realized that they all carry the same trait. They're all resilient. And so this program is in honor of all the women that have taken the program, but also in honor of all the women out there who are on their own journeys of resilience, who may be coming through challenges, overcoming obstacles to get to where they are. And so what I did was I reached out to some of my best friends around the world, some of my greatest colleagues, some people that I really look up to and admire that are doing amazing things. And I invited them to speak and to talk about their lives and their own journeys of resilience. So we're going to be here through the whole month of May, every Wednesday and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern live. So make sure to tune in so you can get some amazing, amazing conversations that we'll be having. And today I have the honor of sitting with Karim Raymond. Karim is an online branding expert. She is a speaker, author, leadership trainer, and co-founder of a women's business organization committed to cultivating new relationships and growth building opportunities for global business women in Latin America. She has won multiple high achievement awards and was a high performance athlete for over 20 years. Born in Colombia, Karim is truly passionate about educating Hispanic leaders to make a difference in their communities and making a positive impact in the world. Karim speaks around the world, inspiring others to achieve next level success in their life and business in both English and in Spanish. I'm so honored to have Karim here today. Welcome, Karim. How are you?
Thank you so much, Mio. I'm happy also to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
So grateful to have you. Thank you for being here. So Karim, for the viewers out there, for the listeners, I always like to start with just telling us a little bit about you, what you're up to, what do you do on a day-to-day? What's Karim about?
Ooh, that could be a very long question. So as you have said, I'm from Colombia. However, my dad is from Haiti, so I'm half Colombian, half Haitian. I used to live in the US. That's where we met. I lived there for 10 years. And currently right now I'm in Colombia. And as you have described, I'm someone that's committed to empower businesswomen to take their businesses to the next level. And I do it through personal branding, and really getting the essence of people's leadership and for them to be able to communicate that through their branding. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm also, along the way, because this is a very particular way to how I do it, because I don't know if everyone in their own journeys or businesses have the chance to teach what they go through, right? So in my case, I'm one of those that in order for me to say something worked or didn't work, I had to do my own process. So that's what I'm doing, and especially in this part of, like after the pandemic or during the pandemic that we're still living, it's been a journey of rediscovery and, like redoing things and evaluating how I was doing before and who I was working with. And then now just implemented it from a whole different perspective. So yeah, that's what I'm about, like self-growth and then sharing that with other people and creating and supporting leaders that are making a difference in the world.
Amazing. Beautiful. And I agree. I don't teach anything I haven't gone through myself. So that's really powerful to teach from that standpoint. So I honor you for that. That's beautiful. So, this term resilience, people throw it around a lot. And some people are even like, what is resilience? And so I always like to preface the conversation with actually defining what resilience is, especially in this context for the interview. Mm-hmm. And so resilience is a person's ability to handle stress, to handle failure, rejection, criticism, and I always throw in sometimes internal criticism, and to handle life in general. Resilient people tend to be the ones that know that stress happens and learn how to expect it and manage it. And resilient people also possess a 4-letter word that I love, which is grit. And grit, and grit is embodied by 4 qualities, or 3 qualities rather, that are courage, conscientiousness, and endurance, most of all. And so when we talk about resilience, let's dive into your journey. And I want to get a sense of, you're doing amazing things today. You're empowering women in leadership. But what was that thing in your journey, along your journey? What was that thing that made you realize that you wanted to do what you're doing now?
Well, there is like 2 breaking points that I would say that were important to me. And I remember after I graduated from college that I was working in this company. And I, like, in my mind, I would do, whatever it takes to be seen. It's like, oh, I want to do as best of a job as I could, so they see me, they recognize me, and they pay me for that. And that actually never happened, So that was that yearn be inside of me where I was like, I want to be seen, I want to do a good job, I want people to honor that. But I never had that response. As a matter of fact, I used to work on it was a research lab, and how it's structured, that type of job is very particular, because you have to go to look for your own pay, right? Like, if there is this research, you have to go look for funding. Then once you get the funding, then you get paid. So you could be looking for that funding for, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months to a year. And then after, they pay you from then on, but most times you don't pay for all the work that you did to get, to get that funding.
Wow. Yeah.
So there was that time where I was like, I don't want to keep living this way. I it's kind of like proving what I'm doing, and then it never feels that they're really seeing everything that I'm doing. So that's the first time where I realized that something was odd. I didn't know what it was. And then part of that was that I ended up leaving that job because I actually have to sue them because they didn't pay me for, I don't remember. Let's say it was like a year, right? Wow. So I end up leaving with this, with this pain of like, this is a job that I really like, but I cannot do it for free. Like, I need to leave. Exactly. Fortunately, I was living so close that I had to walk, so I didn't have to, pay transportation, or I would eat at home. And but it was there, it's just like, I don't want to just do it for free, even if it's amazing, right? I need to live off something. So that was the one defining moment. And the other one was once I was leaving the States, same thing. I was working in a non-for-profit, there's funding, there's job, no funding, no job.
Right. Yeah.
Those transitions, I was invited to an event at the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce, right? And it was this group that was called the Women Business Council. And for the first time in my life, I was surrounded by businesswomen, because in my family, everybody was, professional. They were like college professors, teachers, or they would work on a corporate job. But I never met a business person, like, like be close to it, like family or friends. So for me, that was the very first time that I saw a world that I didn't know existed. Like, oh, could you actually have your own business? Like, as a woman, could you make it big? So I remember at that time, I was like, oh, this is something that I want to do.
Wow.
And it was like, I remember it as if it was today, because it was like, why nobody told me that this was a way of living?
Wow. Yeah.
So those are the 2 defining moments where it's like, it needs to be a way that you can be seen and acknowledged and paid for. And on the other side, it's like, oh, it can actually be creating my own being seen, rather than expecting someone to see it and to recognize it and to honor it.
Wow. Yes, that's huge right there. That creating the actual platform instead of waiting for someone to give you the platform, creating the actual platform to share your voice. And so, wow, that's amazing. So let me ask you this. So going from where you were to where you are is a journey. You didn't just, blink your eyes and you're there. So yeah. So tell us, what were some of those things you had to overcome when you realized, I want to be a businesswoman. I want to own my own business. I want to be self-sufficient. I want to make, this amazing project. I want to bring this to life. Like, what was that like for you? What was that journey like? And what did you have to overcome?
So there were several things. The first one that I can see, it was the most powerful, I would say. And I remember at the time I was working in this non-for-profit, and as I said, I was someone that was like, oh, I'm going to do everything. Like, if you want me to work 15 hours a day, I'll do it. You want me to come weekends, I would do it. Like, I really wanted to do a good job. I wanted to be seen. And there was this day where I don't remember the reason, but I did, I did like, what's my hour? Like, how much is my hour worth? And at the time when I did the math, I was like, I'm making less than the McDonald's, person, like nothing with them. It's just like the numbers, like, at the time I had my second degree in, I had two degrees, I've studied so much, like I've worked. I was like, I can't believe that after all this that I have done, I'm having the paycheck of a college kid, right?
Right.
So that was crazy, because for me, how I see myself is that's what I am worth, right? It was so little that to me is like, okay, they pay me that because that's what I'm worth. Like, if I was worth more, they will pay me more. So to me, it was unthinkable to be like, how am I gonna ask for a raise? Because if I were to ask for a raise, I want it to be 10 times what I'm getting paid. How am I gonna do that jump? If with what I'm doing, like, I'm already using every available hour, and I'm not getting, I'm not being recognized for that. Like, what is it? Like, it was like a sadness inside of me. And I was like, there is no way that's what I'm worth. And I stay with that sadness. Like, there is no way that how am I gonna do it? How am I, like, do I do another degree? Like, I'm not gonna go to college for the third time. Like, it was such a defining moment for me, because I felt worthless after all that I did. Right? And then I don't remember exactly like the chain of situations that happened, but I remember the day that I said, I am worth whatever I say I'm worth.
Oof. Oh my gosh.
Like, yes. If I say that my hour is this much, that's what it's worth. Oh. And from that point on, I remember that's how I started working on my own, because I said, I can do that if I do it myself. I can own it. If somebody says that's too expensive, I'm like, it's fine. Somebody will see it, right? But for me, it was the first person that needed to see it and to feel it. It was myself, right? And to me, that is like, that has been one of the, the awakening moments, the most important for me, because it was about me discovering that. Like, I say how much I'm worth. Yeah. And I'm willing to let go people that don't see it. Oh my God, that's too expensive, or everybody else charges less. I'm like, okay, I got it. I know what I can accomplish. So I would say that has been a life-defining moment for me, just to get to that point. Wow. Incredible. So, okay, because I have to dive into this, because this is so interesting. So you are standing there and you're feeling worthless. You're like, oh my God, these guys are paying me 5 cents an hour. I have 2 degrees. I have, I've killed myself to work for them. You're working 15-hour days. You already you're thinking, what else can I possibly do? What else can I humanly do to prove myself? And then you're getting this feedback saying that you're worth this much. So in your mind, you're like, I'm worthless. So what
what did you have to overcome within yourself to build that self-esteem, to get yourself out of that situation and into a situation where you felt worthy? And what was that internal dialogue like? What was that internal struggle like? What was that journey like for you?
Yeah. So one thing that I would say is that up to that moment, I haven't actually done any self-development work. You know, I have read self-development books, which is a totally different world, right?
Totally
like
different thing.
theory is so great, like it's awesome, but just like going into doing the work, I have never done it, right? So I remember, I'm sorry?
At that point. When you were at that point, you hadn't done it yet.
Yeah, I have done anything. Yes.
Right. Okay.
And I was 32 years old at the time. Yeah. So it was not like, oh, I'm 18. I was an older person. So what happened is, I'm just gonna tell you, I don't know exactly the order, but the things that come to me. I was in this event at the Chamber of Commerce, and I saw this woman speaking, right? She was giving a course, and we both know her, Michelle Villalobos.
Oh yes, love her.
And she was giving a conference, right? And once I was hearing her, I was like, I want to be that. Like, I want to be so clear, so passionate. Like, she had it like all together. Like, there was a vibration from her that I've never experienced from anyone else, right? So to me, I said, I want to be like that. Because right now, I don't know where I'm going, you know? Right now, I'm just living the life that I have to live, but I don't feel that certainty, right? Like, this is what I'm going. This is what I'm creating. This is my vision. So that was the very first time ever that I saw a woman that I was inspired by. So what I did after is just I started following her around, right? Like, we used to do a lot of like businesswomen's events and training. So she was very active at the Chamber of Commerce. So I would just like, whatever chance that I had, I would just go to the events where she was. So interestingly enough, which is the place where we met, every time that I was in one of her courses, then there was people talking about this thing called Landmark. And I was like, oh, that, you know, like I researched, I looked it up over the internet, and I didn't know what it was. So it's just like, okay, whatever. But then I keep hearing that name, right? So one day there was, I don't know if you were there was a book launch by Osmara. Do you remember Osmara? Osmara Vindel? Well, there was this girl that had a book, and then she did a launch. And then I remember I went into this group, and there was this kind of conversation that I've never heard before. And then Landmark name came again. So I was like, okay, tell me a little bit about that. So I end up, you know, like wanting to go to the course, right? Because it is a course, it's a 3-day course. So I was like, I didn't exactly understood what that was, but I was like, if she did it, and if she's that way, I want to be that. So I'm going to do that course.
Yeah.
And so what happened afterwards is that was the very first time that I started evaluating how I was living my life, right? I started debating, you know, my limiting beliefs. Like I learned that I had limiting beliefs. I learned that I had things that were blocking, you know, my own strengths and my own greatness. And the more that I did that, because I did that for many, many years, it was like taking layers out of an onion, right? It's not like, oh, just one day I just woke up and now my life is perfect. It took years to really discover, first to take all the things that were limiting me, you know, the thinking how much I was worth, to learning what I really want to do in my life, how I want my life to be, who do I want to be for the world. Like, it took me a long time to do that.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, and I'm still there, is not a one thing that you do and that's it.
Right.
It's a way of being. So from that point on, what I could summarize all that process was, for me, is just never stop questioning myself. Right? Like, why am I doing this? What is the next step? what is, like, why did I react it that way? Who do I want to work with? So it's always questioning myself and who I am and what I do and who I'm surrounded by. So being in an environment that is filled with people that are in that same journey has really allowed me to never stop going to the next level.
Amazing. So you were able to, well, there's a couple things there. You listen to the subtle signs, because sometimes we have signs from the universe that are coming our way, and sometimes we ignore them for a while because we're in our own thing, we're our ego, whatever that is, or we're surviving, we ignore these signs, but the signs are coming. And so you saw a landmark, and then so you notice the subtle signs and you listened. And then also, in order to step out of where you were, because where you were was a context of worthless, or a context of, I'm not good enough, or whatever that was, for you to step out of that, you saw an example of someone or something that you wanted to be. And so you started to just step into that and just get close to that and try to mimic that, or be that in any way that you can, and just be around it. And that's actually a beautiful thing, because, oftentimes people are like, how do I transform? How do I change? And you really, one of the best things you could do is look for someone who's doing what you want to be doing, and just start following them. Start, if you could talk to them in real life, ask them questions, ask them, hey, can I have a 30-minute conversation? Can I just pick your brain? Can I ask you questions, and get yourself around those types of people, because like you just said, it just really does make a difference. That's amazing.
And also something along those lines is that usually leaders that are out to make a difference, they share their own pathway, right? Yes. So even if they're like too far away, because that's how I saw Michelle, right? They'll always tell you, like, what did they do? They share their pathway. It's like they want more people to do that. So if you really pay attention, just by listening to them and just by following them and seeing what they share, that's also a way to pick their brain. Yes. Without having, because some of them, they're busy. They have lots of people that want to be around them. So It's not as easy to be accessible, and to do it, you actually have to pay, right? You have to make an investment to have someone being invested into your growth. But just by listening, like following their steps, there's so much things that we could learn.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's great advice. Yeah. And so, there's something that people that are going through resilient journeys and that have experienced resiliency in their life can always relate to one thing, which is the thing that nobody really likes to talk about, which is failure. But what is failure really, And so what has failure or perceived failure meant in your journey? Like, for example, when you saw yourself with 2 degrees at a job that was paying you pennies, like, did you perceive that as a failure? How did you overcome that? And what has failure meant to you in your journey?
Yes, I did perceive it as a failure.
There you go. Yes, so, that's what we usually do, right?
Right. Yeah, because I would say there is not a magic thing that you do. I would say it's owning your humanity, right? Like owning, like, yeah, I'm feeling miserable. Yeah, I feel I'm worthless. And what am I going to do about that, right? Because there is always the what's next. We can stay with all the drama or the things that don't go the way we want to, but then what's next, right? So to me, I have never been empowered around failure. I do compare myself a lot with other people, and I'm like, oh my God, you see, they're doing well. And I'm just like, that's something that I'm still working on, right? Like, my mind is always trying to look for ways to make me feel bad. so I'm at peace with it, right? Like, that's human. But then after that, it's like, okay, what am I going to do? Who am I going to talk to? So there is, like, even crying, like, oh, who do I talk to that can take me out of this state? So that's what I would say is my way of doing it. I wish I was just like, oh no, this is, like I have that inner peace that would allow me to just resolve it on my own. But in a way, I own it. I own that I don't feel as big. I don't feel as successful, and whatever it is that I desire having and I don't have, I just own it. It's like, okay, so what's my next step? What am I going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. And so from failure, from what we perceive as failure, what actually opened up for you is actually getting into action and creating.
Yes. Getting out of my head, I would say. If I stay in my head, if I stay on my own, there is nothing happening. So something that I've, consciously worked on is surrounding myself of people that I can reach out to whenever I have those moments, right? So they're not going to like sympathize with me. Oh, poor you. Yes, life is so difficult. They're like, okay, yeah, this is what we can do. This idea do I have. So to me, that has been key. Surround myself of people that when I'm down, they can show me a different way. They inspire me. They hold me close to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's beautiful because that's usually one of the questions that comes up, which is like usually a journey of resilience where, you're like up to something, you're trying to accomplish something in your life, sometimes tends to be a lonely journey because you're doing this alone. You got to grab the bull by the horns, you got to make things happen. But in reality, when we look around, what really gets us to where we are is the people around us, right? And the way that we're able to allow to ourselves to receive support, to receive help, and to ask for help as well.
Mm-hmm.
Has that been a challenge for you to ask for help or to let people in and allow to support you?
Yes, that has been also part of my journey because I was someone like in my mind, how I see it is like, if I wasn't able to do everything on my own, there was something wrong with me, right? So it was not about pride. It's like, oh my God, like if I cannot do this, like there's something wrong with me, like I would look for evidence. You see, I'm wrong. So in my own journey, that's what I've been working on, right? Like there is nothing wrong with ask for help. Like I need to be aware of, like whenever I'm feeling in a certain way, that's where I need to reach out, right? That's where I need to raise my hand. And I haven't, I mean, this is something that I learned just on all this self-discovery and self-growth process, because it was something that didn't come easy to me.
Yeah.
And even now it's like, oh, why am I struggling with this? I can ask for help, right? But it's still something that doesn't come as natural. However, compared now to 10 years ago is a day and night difference.
Yeah. It's that overachiever, that high expectation. Like if it has to get done, it has to be by me. Mm-hmm. And like that overdrive, and that overdrive is sometimes really exhausting, because we're communal creatures. We're tribal creatures. We thrive in community. We thrive with, working together in the tribe, and one person does this and the other one does that. And I have a strength and you have a weakness, or you have a strength and I have a weakness, and we complement each other, And so allowing for that flow to take place, and allowing for that, it's like, I call it, or I look at it as interdependence instead of like independence or codependence. It's like an interdependence, that we have with one another.
Yeah.
So would you say, okay, so when you look back at your journey, did you have something that you would say was like your greatest failure? Like something that was like, oh my God, like maybe you didn't know you were going to get through that or overcome it by any chance? Anything like that? Or something big?
Like I have several.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, as I said, something that I see my own journey is that since I compare myself too much, is like I tend to see that what I do is not enough. It's a failure. It's like, you see everyone else, like everyone else does it better. Everyone else gets better results. And on the other side, something that I've also put myself into, those spaces is where most of the people are way more successful than I am, right? Because that's what inspires me. So, I mean, I said I also have to pick, because like pretty much I could tell you like once a month I have an experience like that. But let me see.
Like one of the biggest ones you had to come out of, and you maybe at the time you didn't even know.
Well, I'm gonna share the latest one that was big, right? Because I had many. But last year at the time of the pandemic, I was, I've been working on getting my name out there for, at the time it was 9 years, right? And I got to a point where, where work was coming to me. I was traveling like pretty much like 2-3 weeks out of the year, of the month. It just like I was feeling the I'm successful experience, right? It's like, oh my God, finally I did it. And then when pandemic started, then from one day to the other, I lost all my business, right? I had 30 conferences set up throughout the year and I lost them all.
Wow.
Of course, it was scary.
Wow.
Then what happened is, just around that time, I was in an inner circle that I entered. And because of that, because of that support, that being close to people that have another level of awareness, I was able to flip that, right? So I was able to, pivot and start working in a different way and start having clients, mostly in the US. And I was just really, once again, I up-leveled my life. I up-leveled the results. I up-leveled the people that I was surrounded by. And I was doing very well. And there was a point where I just have that experience of like, there's something that I'm not liking. Like I'm doing well, like, in the outside, but there is something that is not fulfilling to me, right? Wow. So I felt that even though I was doing something that was making good money, I wasn't fulfilled. And it was very confronting, right? Because it's like, okay, I'm in my house. I cannot go out there. It's not that I have other choices. I don't like doing this. What do I do, right? I was like, should I keep forcing myself or pretending that I like to do it? Or should I stop, right? And it was very confronting. And for about 2 months, I was like crying every single day.
Wow.
Right? Because it's like, what do I do? Like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. I don't know who I want to work with. I no longer like this. Like, I want to go and live in the, boondocks, go to become a missionary. Like, it was so, like, it was a very strong experience. So thankfully, as I said, you need to be surrounded by people that support you through that process. I really got to a point, and it was a long process. I would say it was several months. But after all that, I really got to stop and question everything that I have done up to that moment, right? So it was not that it was wrong. Yes, it was not that it was wrong, but it was like there was something inside of me that was asking for a meaning, for a purpose into what I was doing. Before, it was making it, right? It was survival. Like, oh, I need to pay my bills. I want to buy stuff that I like. I want to live in the place that I love and things like that. I want to travel. So it served a purpose, because then I was not in survival mode anymore. Like, I have things taken care of. And at that point, that no longer had the same weight for my life, right? Mm-hmm. It was no longer about, meeting my ends meet. I don't know if that's the right
making my ends meet. Yeah. Making my ends meet.
My ends. Yeah. So at that point, where it was where I really got to see, like, okay, what's my life about? All this work that I've been doing, which is like, oh, I have this one part of life that's just like fulfilling, but I make no money. And I have this other part of my life that I make money, but I'm not fulfilled doing. So I really got to see, how do I, collapse these two worlds? How do I merge them? Because I don't want to keep living this way. So it took, as I said, it took several months, but it was perfect. It was how it needed to be at the moment. So that way I was just like, I would request of myself what was the next level. So yeah, I would say that has been, I've had several, but that's the most current one that I can tell you.
That's beautiful. And so you said you were part of a group that were, ahead of the game and that were actually helping motivate you, but like, how were some of the ways that you overcame your internal, like maybe your internal dialogue, your fears?
Yeah.
How were some ways that you overcame that?
So first, it was really starting to develop my own spiritual habits.
Mm.
meditating, praying, like really going there and looking for what worked for me. I did all sorts of different types of meditations, prayer, really going inward rather than going asking people for answers. So I think that was one of the biggest ones. The other one, it was not making wrong all the emotions that I was going through.
Mm.
Right? Because I was depressed, I was sad, I was angry, I was afraid, like all that. And then before I would be like, I shouldn't be feeling this way. That's wrong. Like I need to be okay. And then I was like, part of what I learned is that all emotions are perfect.
Yeah.
Right? And allowing myself, okay, if I feel sad, I'm gonna allow myself to feel sad. If I'm feeling annoyed, I'm gonna allow to do it, like not judging myself for doing that.
Oh,
Because
that's huge.
another other practices is like, if I this is I don't know if this is accurate, right? This is how I describe it. It's like, if I spend that emotion, it would no longer show up, right? Because I spend it, right? Then if I
Yes.
resist it, like I store it somewhere, but it's waiting.
Yes, absolutely.
So then once I did that, I spent all my emotions. Then there was another side, right?
Right.
I
Then
would say two things.
you allow space to open, you allow energy to shift. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great one. I love that. I've never used that. If you don't spend your emotions, you'll store them and they'll come out again later. So it's better to spend them and get them out.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's so great. That's so great. So beautiful. So let me ask you this. When you look back at your journey, at everything you had to overcome to get to where you are, what were some of the things that you learned throughout your journey that stay with you and that go with you into the future?
Well, I've been sharing the ones, right? Like one, like I'm the one that gets to say how much I'm worth.
Yes.
The other one is like, own my emotions. Like every emotion is perfect. There is nothing wrong with me, even if it's not a desirable emotion. The other one is like, I need to be surrounded by people that inspire me and that force me to see that my game is way too small to be worrying, right? And then I have to develop my own spiritual habits, because the answers are never outside.
Exactly.
Because I saw myself, right, throughout my life wanting to validate. Oh, am I doing it right? Is this what I should be doing? Is this what is always asking, validating myself with people. And then at one point I was like, after meditation, that's where I got it. Like, if I keep asking for answers outside, I will never be able to find my own answers. And that was it. From that moment on, it's like, even if I make a mistake, I own it, because I was trying to develop my own intuition, right? And it's, at the end of the day, if I'm gonna make a mistake, I'd rather own it than blame someone else that has nothing to do with my success either. So yeah, those are the things that I would say.
Beautiful.
Are my learnings.
Amazing. And I love that you said that, owning your mistakes, because like, for example, we talked about failure earlier, and I always like to replace failure with another F word, which is feedback. And I do believe that failure and mistakes are just feedback. There's nothing wrong with those experiences. They just basically give you feedback for where, what you weren't aware of, or what you get to open up, or what you get to, dive into, or where you get to tweak something or transform something. So it's actually empowering to have those experiences.
Yes,
So that's great that you were able to see that for yourself. And so for the viewers out there, as we wrap up, it's been so amazing to talk with you. I could talk to you for hours, but I know you have a very busy schedule. So for the viewers out there, I always like to leave them with this final question from you. And it is, what words of wisdom would you like to leave our viewers who may be on a similar journey of yours of resilience?
Okay, so there is a concept that is very well known in the American culture, which is using your bragging rights, and I truly see that that's something, is a gift that we give to ourselves, because so many times we accomplish things that has cost us, but we don't really acknowledge it. We don't share it with people. We're kind of like, oh, I don't want people to think that I'm just egotistic or selfish or whatever. So whenever we don't celebrate our triumphs, then we forget about them, and then we think we haven't done anything. So if there's one thing that I would invite every single person is to use your bragging rights. And there is a formula, right? Because it's not the most important thing is not what you accomplish. The most important thing is what it took you to get there. So it's very important to share, this is what I did, this is my accomplishment, and all these things, that's what I had to overcome to get there. And that's where we get the pride of that, and then we get the respect of others for doing it. So use your bragging rights.
Yeah. And so in essence, and I love that because it's self-generated.
Yes.
Generated from within. You find the things that you've accomplished, and you reflect on everything it took for you to get there. And then you relish in it. You have pride in it. And that pride emanates from you. And then other people are proud of you. And so it builds on itself. So it's like it's self-generated, and it comes out, and it impacts everything around you.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Wow. Beautiful. I hope you guys took notes. This was such a powerful conversation. So many good golden nuggets of wisdom here from Karim. Guys, just, we're going to be here for the rest of the month of May, Wednesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern. So log in live so you can see the live conversation. If you have any comments or questions or want to find out more about Karim, please leave a comment below. There's information about her and the show in the show notes. And I look forward to seeing you again. Karim, what a pleasure to sit down with you.
Thank you so much. It was awesome to be here.
Thank you so much. And for you guys out there, remember, be kind to yourselves, be kind to one another, and we love you. We'll see you next time. Bye.